Happy moment to everyone. This is Perkish Salomina, Assistant Professor, Department of Social Work, St.Joseph College of Arts and Science, Autonomous Cuddalore. In this video, we are going to learn about subaltern, main definition and few subalterns problems. Let us get into the class. Subaltern is an important concept in sociology subject. Subaltern is a term used to denote the people, those who are in a lower hierarchical, political and social system. A person who is economically and politically and socially in the lower category, those people can be termed or called as a subaltern. It is a very important concept which we should know in the sociology subject, which is very important to know their problems and their status and their category. Yes, let us discuss in depth about it. So, subaltern is a term. It's first used by or it is given by Antonio Gramsci. He referred the group in the society who are under the hegemony of the ruling elite class. The word hegemony is a word which denotes a person who is having more money and who is having more wealthy in the society. We can compare this hegemony word with the Tamil word hegeman. It is equalized, which means those who are having the higher authority and those who are having more money. Yes. The subaltern classes includes peasants, which means a laborer, tribes, men, children, aged people and other groups, those who are very suppressed by the other communities or other groups which denies access to their day-to-day life. Yes. Now we are going to discuss about important subaltern groups in the society and their problems. Yes, the important subaltern group is none other than the children. The children are the very important to the society. They are the future killer as it is. Yes. Those who are considered as child. Yes, under age of 18, a person is considered as a child. Let us discuss about what is child abuse. We can call it as a child abuse or child endangerment or child maltreatment. This child abuse can be categorized into different types like physical abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse or neglect, and other sort of problems can be considered as a child abuse. Abuse in the sense any kind of activity which creates inconvenient or which creates problem to the other people, especially to the children. Most of the child abuse are taken place within the home, within the schools and so on. Which means most of the child abuse are given by their parents and by their teachers and by their caregivers as well as by the neighbors. So these child abuses are taken place within the school and within the children's home and any organization who is carrying the children and schools or any communities that creates unsafe situation to the children. Let us know about the definition of child abuse given by World Health Organization. World Health Organization defines child abuse as all form of physical or emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, neglect or negligent treatment or commercial or other exploitation resulting in actual or potential harm to the children's health, survival, development or dignity in the context of a relationship of responsibility, trust or power. Yes, the child abuse defined as any abuse made to the child in form of physical, sexual or psychological point of view. Let us discuss about different type of abuses. Physical abuse, it is a kind of force against the child which creates any kind of injury or any kind of harm to them. Children are facing many abuses. It is most important kind of abuse which can be seen by other individuals. This physical abuse include hitting, beating, kicking, shaking, biting, strangling, scalding, burning, poisoning and suffocating. Much physical violence against children in the home is inflicted with the object of punishing. It can be the parents or teacher or any caregivers. In a form of punishment, they abuse the children physically. For example, if you take a parent who is giving punishment to their child, they must be aware of the extent, in what extent we can punish the people. The intention is we have to make them to recognize their problem. The intention, it should not be the violence. Yes, the physical abuse can take place in a form of punishment by knowingly or unknowingly. The parents themselves, they make these kind of abuses to their own children. These kind of abuses lead the children to face some physical problems. Then let's see to some signs and symptoms of physical abuse. Those children are undergone to the physical abuse. In them we can see some unexplained injuries such as burns and broken bones. These can be seen in children, and there can be some injuries which cannot be explained by them, and there can be some kind of developmental disability because of their physical abuses. The physical abuses is directly harmful to the children for their development, and it also affects their psychological aspect of their mind for their further development. Next, the sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is a form of abuse which the adult or older adolescents or any individual who is creating a sexual stimulation to their child. This kind of sexual abuse refers to the participation of a child. They are forced to do some kind of sexual activities like the physical gratification, and these kind of abuses are taken place for the physical happiness and for their financial profits of a person who is committing the act. What can be considered as a sexual abuse? The sexual abuse includes asking or pressuring the child to engage in sexual activities like indecent exposure of their genitals to a child and displaying any kind of pornography to a child, which denotes some kind of sexual contacts, and having a direct physical contact with the child, and viewing a genital part of a child without their knowing, and the child pornography is also considered as a sexual abuse. Sexual abuse in the sense directly involved with the children and their physical aspect as well as their private areas like touching a child in their private part or looking at them vulgarly and showing any kind of pornography to them in the form of creating or stimulating them to have such a kind of activities. So these kind of activities are considered as a sexual abuse to a child. Then what are the signs and symptoms can be seen? Those who are affected by sexually abused, their sexual behavior may be inappropriate. They may show interest towards these kind of sexual activities, or they may be pregnant and they may have some kind of genital or anal pain, bleeding or any kind of injury with their private parts, and they will be depressed, and they may have some kind of inappropriate sexual behavior with the opposite sex. So these are the some signs and symptoms which shows the children is sexually abused. So side by side I am sharing the signs, some symptoms to know about their category. Yes, as we are social worker, we will be dealing with different kind of cases. If we are handling such a case, we should know some signs and symptoms of the problematic persons. Yes, that is why I am sharing all these symptoms and signs with you all. A problem is psychological abuse or emotional abuse. It is just opposite to the physical abuse, which focusing on or which is touching with their emotional part of the children, which means scolding the children vulgarly and showing any kind of attitude towards them which harm the children, which lower ranking them in the particular circumstances. So this emotional or psychological abuse include a kind of abuse word and using some kind of thing to the children, and these kind of activities and words become slow poisoning to their development. So it is very dangerous than the physical abuse. This creates them to be in a very depression mode, and it's lower their confidence. Because of their psychological abuse, they tend to isolate themselves, and they overthink about themselves, they exaggerate some kind of situation, and they feel very unsafe. So because of these kind of feelings, they may not have a good social relationship with other individuals. These kind of psychologically abused children, they criticize for each and every situation, and if they face this kind of abuse, their development may be slower down, and these kind of psychological abuse led them to a kind of lack of development. Next problem is neglect. Child neglect is a very important. Knowingly or unknowingly, we do this to the children. Neglecting in the sense avoiding or not taking care properly by their parent or by their caregiver or by the teachers or the neighbors and the relatives. Neglect in the sense we lack in providing food, clothing, shelter or medical care, or lack of supervision to the particular children, and we may threaten to harm some particular situation. Neglect is also a lack of attention from the parent or from the surrounding to a child, and non-provision of relevant adequate necessities to the children. The growing adult and the growing children need a proper food and shelter, clothing, proper care for their further development. If these necessities are neglected, their developmental stage may face a problem. It can be a physical or a medical or psychological problem they can face due to negligence. So what are the symptoms and signs of negligence? I have given here: poor growth, poor personal cleanliness, and poor records of school attendance. So these are a few signs of a children who is neglected by their parent or surroundings. Let's discuss other types of negligence. There is supervisory neglect, which is by their parent or by their guardian. By the parent or guardian, they just neglect their children in all the cases, like they physically abuse or just they may not provide proper food, shelter, clothes to their children. And the physical abuse is a lack of necessity to such a case, like safeness and clean home, clean environment. These are considered as physical neglect. And the medical neglect, it is the lack of providing medical care. If they are sick, it should be given proper care, and if we have failed to that kind of care, it can be considered as a medical neglect. And the emotional neglect is a moral support, is a kind of is a kind of emotional support which we fail to give. It can be considered as a emotional negligent. It can be by the parent or by the caregivers. Okay, in sometimes we can see a child will be very curious to share something to their parents and to their teachers, and because of some kind of reason they may neglect to hear their words. Okay, these all comes under emotional negligence. And educational negligence, which means we have failed to give a proper education to the particular children. And the abandonment, which means the parent or the guardian leave the children alone without any care, without any proper protection and care. This is a kind of abandonment. At the last, we are having here the medical abuse. It is a false information about the illness. For example, if a child is facing any kind of problem, means our elder person may give some reasons, because of this reason only your children is facing this kind of problem. It may be very silly, but some kind of false conscious creates this kind of information, and some parent they believe that those kind of informations, and they will not care their children in a proper manner. Okay, hearing all these some kinds of information, they just let their children down, and they may not give proper medical care to their children for their physical illness. This is considered as a medical abuse. Let us discuss about problem faced by Dalit women. So being a woman itself a subaltern or a marginalized group, while talking about Dalit women, they are triple deprived. They are facing problem for the three reasons: by being a poor, being a woman, and being a Dalit. These three creates them more deprived in the society. So women itself, being a woman itself, a problematic in a particular society, and being a Dalit woman, it is very important to note their problem in their day-to-day life. They are facing the problem in all the circumstances, in the social, economical, political, and in employment section also. The Dalit women are experiencing more and more challenges in their day-to-day life. Yes, let us discuss about one by one. As you see in the third point, it shows the important problems are faced by Dalit women. They are facing the problem in education, health, political participation, occupation, and Dalit women are experiencing more challenges in their day-to-day life, and they remain marginalized in all the aspect, like it can be a kind of education. They are denied to have a proper education, their health, their political participation, even in their occupation, they are paid very low salary when we compare with the men. Wages, while talking about assets, they are denied to give a proper properties and social mobility, extent of victimization through violence or access to justice. Being a Dalit woman, they are very challenging in day-to-day life. Like they are facing more problem. They've been victimized for all the problems and all the situations. Especially they are facing problems like physical abuse, domestic violence, sexual abuse, and they are sexually abused. They are a kind of a person who is marginalized because of their caste. They are marginalized because of their gender. They are marginalized because they are poor. So in these three deprivation, they are facing much more problem than the other in the society. So these are the very important problems. We should know about it further. They have some kind of legislation and policies and so on. Even though we have policies and legislation, the Dalit women are still facing the problem in India. It shows most of the Dalit women are facing problem in India. Thank you. Great answer.